Yo, yes, Juan Garcia, me, Ermac77, Ninja Pop News. You know what it is. Oh, it is a very good day today, specifically because last night was very interesting. I know a lot of you guys out there watched the press release for the PlayStation 4, and you guys have like maybe some unanswered questions. Maybe some of you guys are happy, some of you guys are skeptical. I'm one of the guys who's happy but skeptical at the same time. Now let's recap it. Yesterday, they press released that the PlayStation 4 is going to come out. They did not show us the actual hardware. They didn't show us how the console will look, but they did show us the games, all the developers that are going to be working on it. Mark Cerny was up there talking about the PlayStation 4. Now, Mark Cerny, who's been all around the gaming industry, it just surprises me that he came up there. And just him talking about the specs and everything that they've been doing for the past 5 years in development with the PlayStation 3, to me just sound absolutely interesting. And me being a tech junkie, super nerdy dude that I am, it made me want to cheer up. It just made me want to go up and start clapping if I was there. I was in my room and I was just clapping, and everyone was like, what are you doing? But other than that, it was very good seeing him up there, and it looks like Sony is learning a very big lesson from this generation. They're not necessarily going for, let's say, the most powerful console, but they are going for something. They're going for something more along the lines of what Nintendo's doing. If you've noticed, Nintendo's is making gaming with more of a social network activity. And that seems like an overall theme that's been going on within the past few years of this generation right now, the current one with PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii. Everything's been more socially media, and it seems like it's going to be an ongoing thing. Down to the new controller. The controller to me looks absolutely fantastic. I have a problem with the DualShock 3 controller. Every controller has been made awkwardly. You have to hold the controller a specific way, and you have to do all of this just to make the controller work, and that's also something that made the Xbox a lot better. If you use an Xbox controller, especially with first-person shooters, they're built for shooters. You have the stick up a little, you have the stick up by a couple of inches, and it's like you're holding an assault rifle when you're playing first-person shooters. That's part of the reason why Call of Duty is better on Xbox itself. But going back to it, you have a little mini touchscreen on it. You have a little headphone jack, which I think is also very good. You could buy cheap BS microphones. That's something that, to me, that's awesome. The controller itself, you sign your account into that controller, so the PlayStation 4 can have more than one account signed in. That, to me, is something that's absolutely fantastic. You mean to tell me that I can use my own account to play against my friend when I'm sleeping over at his house? That, to me, is fantastic. And I love the fact that Sony's doing something. Now, some of the things I'm a little bit shaky on is they're not requiring you to have a constant internet connection to play games or to do anything on a PlayStation 4, unlike what it looks like it's being confirmed that the next Xbox is doing. Let's look that up. It looks like it's true. You're not going to need a present internet connection for anything. They will like you to have a present internet connection so patches can come and stream flowingly, but other than that, I don't like to play RPGs when I'm signed in, so I get to sign out. So I think that that's something that's awesome, that they're keeping it that way. I'm just in awe as to what they're doing. Not necessarily as a Sony fanboy, because I do hold Sony on high regards, because they're the ones that really brought me into playing video games like mad. It brought me into my gaming fanboyism, because I had every single PlayStation. I've had every iteration of the PlayStation product. But looking at it, it just looks absolutely fantastic. Even down to the games. Destiny, a very ambitious game by Bungie, is going to be released on the PlayStation 4. And let's face it, it's an MMORPG. It's an MMORPG shooter, to be more exact about it. And that's just something it's absolutely fantastic. It's going to show off the PlayStation's new hardware, and it's also going to live with the PlayStation 4's lifespan, which is going to be 7 to 10 years. Which I think that to me is just fantastic. That's the only word I can use right now. Fantastic. It sounds awesome. You have Watch Dogs, which was my personal favorite of E3 back in 2012. Beautiful game developed by Ubisoft Montreal, I believe, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. You got a chance to see a playable demo, and it was done in real time. The graphics were smooth. It was like I would say a more subtle Grand Theft Auto, and that to me is something that's just absolutely amazing. And it's good to see a new IP that's sort of, I would want to say, inspired by Assassin's Creed. Of course, it's done by the same studio that's doing Assassin's Creed, but it just looks, to me, absolutely a lot more better. I just hope they don't do to it what they did with the Assassin's Creed series and completely mess it up. But on to other games. Jonathan Blow's new game, The Witness. You know, that game that was talked about at the end of Indie Game, the movie that he was working on? Yes. His indie game, The Witness, is going to be on a PlayStation. It's going to be on PS4. And it looks pretty cool. A little weird, but most indie games are extraordinarily weird, and they're made for you to think. You're going to have Knack, a new IP from Sony, from internal Sony, which looks absolutely amazing. It's got that Media Molecule feel, you know, Little Big Planet. It has that feel to it, and then it has that feeling of a DreamWorks movie, which I love DreamWorks, so that totally works out. Killzone Shadowrun or Shadow something. It was a new Killzone game, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that it doesn't look necessarily any different from all the Killzones that you've played before. I beg to differ. You can obviously see from the demo that they played, the graphics are absolutely fantastic. The shooting is amazing, and they also took a note from Halo 4. Halo 4, when it was developed, they changed the audio sound of the guns, and they made the guns sound a lot more beefier and maybe a lot more futuristic. Now, if you listen to the guns in the Killzone tech demo, just look it up. You can just hear the one gun that he uses. It sounds beefy and it sounds more realistic, and that it just sounds freaking awesome to me. And I'm also a very big fan of the Killzone franchise itself. It has a fantastic multiplayer, everything. They have a new Infamous game coming out. Yes, Infamous, The Second Son, which takes, from what I'm looking at it has a totally different character than Cole McGrath, which it kind of hurts me a little bit, because I'm such a big fan of the Infamous series itself, Infamous 1, Infamous 2. You think that they would have used, those comic book Marvel DC elements to blend in Cole coming back to life and you play it as Cole, but it's totally understandable that they're using a different character. The universe lives on. That's something cool, and I'm not going to spoil number 2 for you if you've played it. Not going to spoil it. So pick that up. It's like $20 at GameStop anyways. Just play the damn game. No, buying new, since I should say that. But other than that, it's just fantastic what Sony's been doing. It just looks absolutely amazing. And last generation, Sony did not have that good of a startup. Sony has always made the mistake of putting out their console last, and they end up mucking up everything. Let's look at the first 2 times were understandable. The PlayStation 1, it was their first console to come out. A lot of games were promised on the PlayStation 1 within the first 2 years that actually did not get developed. A lot of people don't know that. With the PlayStation 2, granted the PlayStation 2 has the highest ambiguity of any console ever, meaning the most first-party games of any console ever put out. When it first came out, there were only maybe 2 or 3 games that were absolutely fantastic that made you want to buy the system. But going on to the PlayStation 3, Sony went for power, and that was something that was a big mistake. They went and spent all of this money creating this system, did not have enough did not have enough developers to make a game out to make any games. You only had Resistance. What else? You had Uncharted and some other games, and they actually had to wait maybe 2 or 3 years for Metal Gear Solid 4 to come out for their sales to be revived. And at that time, let's face it, Microsoft already had a couple million units already sold, and then the PlayStation 3 was released around the same time the Wii was released, and in 2007 the Wii actually outsold both the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 combined. I mean, PlayStation 3 really did see a very shitty year, very shitty generation in the beginning half. Of course, they built up better, and they do have the largest ecosystem of any console available. Even larger than the PC, you still have had a lot of problems with the PlayStation 3. Let it be hacked and it was shut down for 2 or 3 months, or let it be shoddy games still coming up on the console. You have had a lot of issues, and a lot of developers were complaining about the Power Cell. They didn't know how to use the Power Cell properly, and it's good to see that they're not necessarily using the Power Cell anymore. They're going on something along with what the PC uses. Granted, it's slightly dated. It is modified so it could be used, and it can be used by today's standards, which I think is pretty good. Man, there's just so many good things that I've seen. I mean, they've built a console that was made for developers. That to me is that's astounding, and I love it. And actually, one of my personal favorites, one of my personal favorite things about this press release, there was no EA and there was no Activision. It was specifically Sony and smaller developers who don't necessarily get that much notice. And I think that that's something that's absolutely fantastic. You got Square Enix up there. They're talking about the new games. And you know for a fact Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to come out with the PlayStation 4. It's got to. The Luminous engine looks absolutely fantastic, as they showed another tech demo of it. It's got to come out. I mean, so stop messaging me asking me. I don't know. I'm not that far up in the journalistic chain. Oh my God, I'm just so flabbergasted as to what I've seen. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I can't really think of anything that scares me other than the price of it. A lot of people are saying, a lot of researchers and analysts are saying that it's going to be from anywhere from $350 to $450. If it's that much, that's the perfect price range right there. And that means that Sony has learned its lesson. And that means I'll be picking it up not 2 years late. It just looks like Sony is really, really learning its lessons they're learning a majority of their lessons from the PlayStation 3 era, and they're moving it, and they're ready to move on, and they're ready to expand their ecosystem. And I think that that's something that's very good. All right, that's it. That's me talking about Sony, the PlayStation 4 release. If you guys have anything else you want to ask me, comment on the box below, comment on Facebook, Ninja Pop News, comment on Twitter, Ninja Pop News, or you could just find me, Juan Angel Garcia, Ermac77 with 2 eyes on Twitter, and you could just message me and ask me any questions that you want. Now, I know you guys are like, hey, what's up? Where are the game reviews? Don't worry, I'm going to be posting another video later on today with the game reviews. I'm going to be rating Aliens Colonial Marines. What's that other game? Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I have no idea. And Crisis 3. And you will get those 3 reviews. See that? 3 reviews in one. And I can tell you how good and which one's better than the other. Spoiler alert, it's not Colonial Marines. I am Juan Garcia, signing off for Ninja Pop News. And remember, you're not having fun if you don't have a controller.